All right, so today we're going to be looking at some really fascinating stuff about China.
Oh,
As we head into 2025 and
yeah.
China's role in the world.
Right.
Um, and I know you're the kind of person who keeps a close eye on international relations
Mm-hmm.
and, particularly how the Chinese government functions.
Right.
So this deep dive should be right up your alley.
Yeah.
The source material we're looking at today kind of paints this picture of China navigating a world that's just in constant flux.
Yeah.
There's elections, there's conflicts,
Sure.
there's economic, roller coasters, the whole shebang.
Right.
But here's the kicker.
Okay.
Amidst all of that, China seems to be doubling down
Uh-huh.
on economic stability,
Yeah.
really pushing for progress,
Okay.
and emphasizing something they call living values.
Interesting.
Plus, we'll get into some specific global events and initiatives where China's playing a key role.
I'm excited to dive in.
Let's do it.
So yeah, you really hit the nail on the head. The source really hammers home the sheer amount of change that happened in 2024.
Yeah.
It's not just, a few isolated events.
Right.
It's like this feeling of massive global upheaval.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the UN's assessment of 2024 as a year of turmoil
Right.
with elections in like 70 countries
Wow.
and a whole host of challenges on everyone's plate.
Yeah. And the source uses this really intriguing phrase, seeking consensus amid upheaval.
Okay.
For someone who's deeply interested in international relations, like yourself, what's the significance of that idea?
Well, it gets to the heart of, like a global tug of war.
Okay.
You've got all these forces pulling in different directions,
Yeah.
political divides, economic uncertainty, the climate crisis.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's this growing realization that we need to find some common ground
Right.
and cooperate to tackle these big problems.
Totally.
And that's where I think China's vision really comes into play.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into the next point.
Oh.
The source really focuses on
Yeah.
China's expanding role in all of this.
Right.
And there's this idea of building a global community of shared future that keeps coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the core meaning of that,
Yeah.
especially in the context of China's foreign policy?
Think of it as like the cornerstone
Okay.
of their approach, you know?
Yeah.
It's about moving away from that cutthroat, winner-takes-all mentality,
Right.
and instead pushing for a world where countries collaborate more and focus on their shared interests.
Interesting.
And frankly, it's a message that's resonating with a lot of nations,
Mhm.
particularly those in what's called the Global South,
Oh.
basically the developing world.
Interesting. And they're backing this up with some really concrete examples.
Yeah.
Like the source mentions China travel and from French farm to Chinese dining table.
Right.
These catchy initiatives.
Yeah.
What do these examples tell us about how China's actually engaging with the world?
Those are textbook examples of China flexing its soft power. They're going beyond the hard politics
Mm-hmm.
and really pushing cultural exchange, economic partnerships,
Yeah.
those direct connections between people.
Right.
It's a way to build trust, show that they're invested in global development,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, ultimately increase their influence on the world stage.
Okay, now here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The source mentions these living values
Mm-hmm.
that supposedly define China in this new era.
Right.
Break it down for us. What are these values and how do they shape what China actually does?
This is key to understanding how the Chinese government functions,
Okay.
especially if you're thinking about a career related to their global activities.
Right.
These living values are like a blend of their traditional philosophy with their modern political ideology.
Got it.
And specifically, the source highlights the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence:
Okay.
mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity,
Mhm.
mutual non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs,
Yep.
equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence.
So for someone analyzing how decisions are made in Beijing, how do those values actually play out in China's actions on the world stage?
It's all about promoting stability, predictability, and win-win situations.
Okay.
China's actively involved in global governance,
Mhm.
participating in international organizations,
Yeah.
pushing for those multilateral solutions to the world's problems.
Interesting.
They really see themselves as a champion for developing countries,
Okay.
advocating for a more equitable world order.
Speaking of global engagement, the source mentions President Xi Jinping
Yeah.
being present at all these huge international events.
Right.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, the BRICS Summit, APEC, the G20.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real takeaway from China being so active in these forums?
It signals a clear increase in both their ambition and their influence.
Okay.
They're not just showing up, they're trying to shape the agenda, pushing their vision for global governance, and building alliances with countries that share similar views.
Interesting.
And this is especially clear in how they engage with the Global South.
Global South. That's a term we hear a lot these days. Could you break down that concept for our listeners?
Sure thing.
But,
Global South essentially refers to the collection of developing countries, primarily in Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
okay.
And China's been heavily investing in relationships with these countries,
Okay.
offering development assistance, pouring money into infrastructure projects, and promoting trade. They're strategically positioning themselves as a leader of the Global South,
Interesting.
kind of like a counterbalance to Western dominance.
Which makes sense given China's own path from a developing country to a global powerhouse.
Exactly.
But the source also really emphasizes China's internal stability
Right.
and this relentless focus on progress. How do those domestic factors contribute to their global influence?
That's a crucial point.
Okay.
China's ability to exert influence on the world stage is directly tied to how strong they are domestically. Economic growth, a stable society, and advancements in technology all bolster their credibility and influence.
Right.
It allows them to present themselves as a model for development, a viable alternative to Western-led systems.
And speaking of advancements, the source gets pretty specific.
Yeah.
Talking about things like their first domestically produced mobile operating system
Right.
and developing these advanced batteries for electric vehicles. Why are these types of examples so significant?
Because it shows their ambition to be a top dog in innovation and technology. These advancements have a ripple effect, not just on their own economy,
Right.
but on global industries and the entire balance of power.
Wow.
They're challenging the dominance of those big Western tech companies and positioning themselves as a major player in shaping the future of technology.
Wow, we've already covered a ton of ground
Yeah.
from global upheaval and China's living values to their activities on the world stage.
Yeah.
And those cutting-edge technologies.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah,
But it's already giving us a much clearer picture of China's role in the world.
definitely.
But there's still so much more to unpack.
Yeah, I agree.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with part 2 of our deep dive,
Sounds good.
where we'll delve even deeper into the complexities of China's rise. And if you're finding this deep dive insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel
Yes, please do.
for more fascinating explorations of global affairs.
We appreciate it.
We'll be back in a flash.
See you soon. It's fascinating how these advancements are all interconnected. You know, China's focus on progress.
Yeah.
It isn't just about boosting their economy. It's
Wow.
about becoming a leader in technology and leveraging that to enhance their global standing.
Totally. It's like they're playing this strategic long game,
Yeah.
carefully building up their strengths
Right.
to secure a more prominent place on the world stage. But let's circle back to this idea of stability for a moment.
Okay.
The source really highlights China's ability to maintain internal stability amidst all the global uncertainty.
Right.
Why is that so crucial for them?
Well, if you kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Okay.
it boils down to legitimacy and credibility,
Okay.
especially for those interested in how the Chinese government functions. Domestic stability is paramount for them.
Yeah.
It's like the bedrock of their entire system. If they can't maintain order at home,
Right.
their ability to project power and influence abroad takes a major hit.
It's like constructing a building.
Yeah.
You need a solid foundation
Yeah.
before you can start adding all the fancy features.
Exactly.
But what are the key ingredients that contribute to this sense of stability in China?
It's this multifaceted mix
Okay.
of economic prosperity, social cohesion, and let's be frank, a degree of political control.
Right.
The Chinese government has been remarkably successful at lifting millions out of poverty, creating this sense of shared progress.
Yeah.
They've also prioritized social harmony by promoting those traditional values and a sense of national unity.
So it's about fostering this sense of shared destiny,
Right.
like a feeling that everyone's in the same boat,
Yeah,
working towards a common goal.
exactly.
But how does this domestic stability translate into concrete actions on the international stage.
It gives them the confidence and the capacity
Mm-hmm.
to engage with the world on their own terms.
Okay.
You know, they're not constantly putting out fires at home.
Right.
They can focus on long-term strategic goals,
Right.
like expanding their economic influence through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A stable China is a China that can project power and influence far beyond its borders.
Exactly.
But the source also portrays China as a champion of multilateralism
Uh-huh.
and a multipolar world.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly do those terms mean?
Okay.
And how do they fit into China's overall strategy?
This is where things get a bit more nuanced.
Yep.
China is pushing back against what they see as a world dominated by a single superpower,
Okay.
the United States and its allies.
Right.
They're advocating for a more multipolar system where power is more evenly distributed among different centers of influence.
Interesting.
Multilateralism in this context means working through international organizations,
But
forging partnerships with a wide range of countries, and promoting a more inclusive global governance structure.
so it's not necessarily about replacing the U.S. as the sole superpower,
Right.
but about creating a more balanced playing field where multiple powers can coexist and cooperate.
Exactly. It's a subtle but significant shift
Yeah.
in the global power dynamics.
Right.
And it's definitely something that's being closely watched
Yeah.
by policymakers and analysts around the world.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It feels like we're witnessing this tectonic shift in international relations.
Yeah.
And China is right at the epicenter. Let's bring it back to you, our listener, for a moment.
Oh.
You're interested in a career related to China's global activities.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see all of this playing out in the years to come?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think the most important takeaway is that China is not this monolithic entity.
No.
It's a complex and dynamic society
Right.
with its own internal contradictions and evolving priorities.
Yeah.
Understanding those nuances,
Mm-hmm.
the interplay between their domestic and foreign policy,
Right.
and the role of these living values is absolutely crucial
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to engage with China effectively.
It sounds like navigating this new world order requires more than just skimming the headlines.
Yeah.
It demands a deeper appreciation
Right.
for the cultural, historical, and political forces shaping China's actions,
Absolutely.
especially for those of you writing exams or following Chinese government functions closely.
It's essential.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about connecting the dots,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the patterns,
Right.
and anticipating how China's rise will ripple across the global stage.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful so far.
It has.
We've explored China's vision for the future,
Yeah.
their unwavering focus on stability and progress, and their role in shaping a multipolar world.
Right.
But there's one more crucial piece of the puzzle we need to examine.
Okay.
The human element in our final segment will delve into the lives of everyday Chinese citizens
That's good.
and explore how their aspirations and challenges are shaping China's trajectory on the world stage. Stay with us. Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, we've covered these big picture ideas,
Yeah.
like global governance in a multipolar world.
Right.
But I think it's important to bring it back down to earth a little bit.
Absolutely.
And remember that this is all ultimately about people.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
Right.
these are human stories.
And speaking of those individual stories, the source talks about this incredible wave of progress sweeping across China from rural villages
Yeah.
to bustling factories to these cutting-edge tech labs.
Right.
They even highlight these everyday heroes who are pushing the boundaries of innovation
Mm-hmm.
with things like mobile operating systems, brain-machine interfaces.
It's pretty amazing.
What does that tell us about the aspirations and the drive of the Chinese people?
It points to this deep-seated yearning for a better life,
Okay.
this hunger for progress and innovation.
Mm-hmm.
That's palpable.
Yeah.
These advancements aren't just happening in some elite bubble.
Right.
They're fueled by the ingenuity and hard work of ordinary people.
Yeah.
It's that spirit of striving that's propelling China forward.
And it's fascinating how the source connects those individual efforts to the broader narrative of China's economic future.
Absolutely.
And it's like everyone's working together, pushing in the same direction.
Precisely. And it's that collective energy
Yeah.
that makes China such a force to be reckoned with in the global economy.
Right.
They're not just passive participants.
Mhm.
They're actively shaping the landscape,
Right.
setting the pace for innovation in key industries.
It seems like it goes beyond just economic gains, too. The source hints at a deeper connection
Okay.
between these technological advancements and this surge in national pride.
Without a doubt, there's a palpable sense of accomplishment.
Okay.
A feeling that China is reclaiming its rightful place as a global leader in science and technology.
Right.
And that's a powerful motivator,
Yeah.
fueling their ambition to compete and excel on the world stage.
Let's get real for a moment, though. This kind of rapid progress usually comes with its own set of challenges.
Sure.
What are some of the hurdles that China faces
Okay.
as it navigates this path towards global leadership?
That's an important question.
Yeah.
You know, China's rise hasn't been without its bumps in the road.
Right.
They face serious challenges related to environmental sustainability,
Okay.
growing social inequality,
Right.
and managing the expectations
Yeah.
of a rapidly expanding middle class.
Mm.
And of course, there's the added tension stemming from their increasingly assertive foreign policy, which hasn't exactly made them friends with every country.
Right. So it's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
Trying to maintain stability and progress at home
Yeah.
while also navigating this complex and often unpredictable world.
It's a high wire act for sure.
Yeah.
And how effectively they manage these challenges
Right.
will ultimately determine their success in the years to come.
Well, this deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening.
It has been.
We've explored the intricacies of China's global role, from their living values to their impressive technological advancements
Right.
and the aspirations of their people.
It's a fascinating story.
It is a fascinating story. It's clear that China is a major force to be reckoned with on the world stage.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And understanding their motivations and challenges is crucial
Absolutely.
for anyone who wants to engage with this rising power.
Couldn't agree more.
As we wrap up, here's a final thought-provoking question for you, our listener, especially those of you who are deeply engaged with international relations and China's role in it.
Okay.
How do you see China's emphasis on living values and its pursuit of global influence impacting your own life,
Right.
your career, and the world around you? It's a question worth pondering,
Absolutely.
and we encourage you to keep exploring these complexities.
Yeah, keep learning.
Long after our deep dive is over. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating explorations
Yes, please do.
of the forces shaping our world. Until next time, keep diving deep.